We talk about incredible journeys, but what about the most incredible journey of all? I'm not talking about climbing Everest or exploring the deep sea. I'm talking about the one that creates a new human being. Today, we're going to explore that remarkable story, how life begins, from that very first spark to the very first breath.
And it all begins with something so tiny you can't even see it, and it grows into this, a developing human. So how on earth does that happen, right? What are the key moments, the secret biological signals, and what about the insane odds that have to be beaten along the way? Well, let's get into it.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for this amazing journey. First, we'll look at the big picture, the blueprint for human reproduction. Then we'll meet the hardware, the reproductive systems themselves. After that, we'll see how the key ingredients get made, then zoom in on that incredible moment of fertilization. We'll follow the 9 months of development, and finally, we'll get to the finish line, birth and a new beginning. Let's go. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the Human Reproduction Blueprint. We're going to start with a bird's eye view of the whole journey. So this whole process can really be broken down into 6 major steps. First, you've got gametogenesis. That's just a fancy word for making the sperm and the egg. Next up is insemination, getting the sperm where it needs to go. Then the magic moment, fertilization, when the 2 cells fuse together. After that, we have implantation, where the new little cell has to attach to the uterine wall. That kicks off gestation, the whole 9-month development process, and it all wraps up with parturition, or as we all know it, childbirth.
Okay, so that's the what. Now for the how. What kind of biological machinery makes all this happen? That brings us to our next section, where we'll meet the essential hardware, the reproductive systems.
Let's start with the male reproductive system. It's located down in the pelvis region, and its entire job really is built around one mission, to make and deliver sperm. And to do that, it's got a whole toolkit, a pair of testes, a bunch of ducts and glands, and of course, the external genitalia.
Now, the testes are really the MVPs here. They have 2 massive jobs. First, they're the sperm factories, churning out sperm in a process called spermatogenesis. But they're also like the command center because they produce androgens, which are the hormones that basically run the whole show.
All right, now for the female reproductive system. It's also located in the pelvis, but its job is way more complex. It's not just about making one ingredient. It's about making the egg, providing a safe home for the pregnancy, and then caring for the newborn. So you've got the ovaries, the fallopian tubes, the uterus, and even the mammary glands, all working together in this incredible system.
And just like the testes are the main players for the male system, the ovaries are the primary organs for the female system. They're in charge of producing the ovum, that's the egg cell, and they also release the key hormones that control the entire female reproductive cycle.
So we've met the hardware. Now it's time to talk about the software, or, well, maybe the key ingredients. Let's dive into how these 2 crucial cells, the sperm and the ovum, actually get made. Okay, this is where things get really interesting, because the way sperm and eggs are made couldn't be more different. Spermatogenesis, making sperm, starts at puberty and just keeps going, producing millions. But oogenesis, making eggs, that process actually starts when a female is still an embryo in her mother's womb. And instead of making millions, it produces just 1 viable egg per cycle, and the whole process stops around age 50. 2 totally different game plans for creating life's essential ingredients.
And that whole process of creating and releasing 1 egg is all part of a much bigger, precisely timed monthly schedule, the menstrual cycle. You can think of it like the body getting a guest room ready every single month, just in case a pregnancy occurs. It's a roughly 28-day cycle of preparing the uterus for a potential arrival.
So what's the big trigger in this monthly cycle? It's something called the LH surge. Right around day 14, there's this huge spike in a hormone, luteinizing hormone, and it's basically the starting pistol. It tells the ovary, go, causing it to release the mature egg. That moment is called ovulation, and it's when the egg officially begins its journey.
And that brings us to the main event. The egg is out, the clock is ticking, the stage is perfectly set for the most critical moment of all, fertilization, the spark of life.
And it all starts with a number that is just mind-boggling. We're talking 200 to 300 million sperm released. This isn't just a race, it's an epic biological marathon on a scale that's hard to even imagine.
And all of them, every single one of those millions is racing toward one tiny target, a single ovum waiting in the fallopian tube. I mean, think about those odds. They are absolutely astronomical for any one sperm to make it.
But after that incredible journey, out of all those millions, just one makes it. Only one. The second that winner gets through, the egg's outer layer instantly changes, throwing up a shield to block every other sperm out. One winner. That's it. And that's the spark.
And get this, that single winning sperm also decides something pretty fundamental, the sex of the baby. See, the egg always has an X chromosome, but sperm can carry either an X or a Y. So if a sperm with an X chromosome wins, you get a girl. If a Y sperm wins, you get a boy. Which means, scientifically speaking, the sex of the baby is actually determined by the father, not the mother. Kind of a cool fact, right?
So we have fertilization. We have a brand new single cell called a zygote. But how does that one tiny cell turn into a fully formed baby? Well, that's the next chapter, the incredible 9-month journey of development.
The pace of this journey is just wow. Look at this. By the end of the very first month, the embryo's heart has already formed and is beating. A month later, limbs and digits, fingers and toes start to show up. By the end of that first trimester, most of the big organ systems are already there. Around month 5, you get the first little movements. And by the end of the second trimester, the body's covered in fine hair and the eyelids separate. Finally, at month 9, the fetus is fully developed and ready to go.
And that brings us to the grand finale of this incredible internal journey, birth and a new beginning. Let's talk about partition and lactation.
The technical term for childbirth is parturition. And here's something amazing. It's actually the baby who kicks the whole thing off. When the fetus is fully developed, it sends out signals that trigger a whole chain reaction of hormones in the mother, leading to those powerful uterine contractions that deliver the baby. The baby basically says, "Okay, I'm ready."
But the journey of care doesn't stop there. Right after birth, the mother's body produces this incredible stuff called colostrum. It's the first milk, and it's basically liquid gold. It is jam-packed with antibodies that give the newborn its first crucial dose of immunity. It's like a natural, built-in defense system to protect it in the outside world.
So from a single cell to a whole new life, we've gone from the making of 2 tiny cells through a race against truly impossible odds to 9 months of mind-blowing transformation, and finally, a brand new beginning. It is such an intricate, beautiful biological process, so I'll leave you with this question. When you think about it all, which part of this journey is the most remarkable to you?